The galaxy cast them out, but Earth took them in part one. The alarm woke Commander Cole from a dreamless sleep. She rolled out of her bunk and pressed the communication panel on her wall. The voice of her second officer came through with urgency that made her stomach tighten. "Commander, we have an unidentified vessel dropping out of hyperspace near the moon. It is damaged and broadcasting a distress signal." Pulled on her uniform and ran through the corridors of Haven Point, the small orbital station that served as Earth's welcome center for alien visitors. In the year 2247, humanity had joined the Galactic Concord, a massive alliance of over 400 spacefaring species. Haven Point was supposed to greet diplomats and traders. It was not designed for emergencies. She reached the command center and looked at the main screen. The ship hanging in space was massive but clearly wounded. Burn marks covered its hull. Parts of it were open to the vacuum. It should not have been flying at all. "Open a channel," said. The screen flickered and a face appeared. Had studied many alien species during her training, but she did not recognize this one. The being was tall and thin with pale blue skin. It had 4 arms and large dark eyes that seemed to hold centuries of sadness. When it spoke, the translation software turned its words into English with a slight delay. "Please, we beg for help. We have nowhere else to go." Leaned forward. "Identify yourself. What species are you? What happened to your ship?" The alien's voice trembled. Ours was destroyed 3 years ago by a stellar collapse. We have been wandering since then. Every world has turned us away. Every species has refused us. We are dying." Behind the alien could see movement. Faces pressed against viewports. Children with the same pale skin and dark eyes stared out at Haven Point with hope and terror mixed together. "How many of you are there?" asked. 847. "We were once millions. Now we are all that remain." Turned to her communication officer. "Contact Earth Command. Tell them we have a refugee situation, and get Director on the line." While she waited, kept the channel open. She watched on the damaged ship. They moved slowly, weakly. Some of them were clearly sick. She saw adults holding children close. She saw elderly sitting in corners with their eyes closed. They looked like people who had given up expecting anything good to happen. Director appeared on a secondary screen. He was Earth's representative to the Galactic Concord, a careful man who always thought about political consequences. His face was pale. "Commander Cole, I just received a message from Concord headquarters. They are exiles. They have been declared stateless by the Concord Council. Any species that helps them will face sanctions." Stared at him. They declared an entire species stateless after their planet was destroyed. Apparently they have a reputation. Other species consider them unlucky, cursed, superstitious nonsense, but the Concord takes such things seriously. No one wants them. "They are dying, Director." "I understand that, Commander, but if we take them in, Earth could be expelled from the Concord. We would lose trade agreements, access to technology. Our colonies in other systems would be cut off." Looked back at the main screen. A child had pressed both sets of hands against the viewport. The child was looking directly at Haven Point, directly at. "Director, I need you to contact the full council. Get authorization for humanitarian aid. These people need food and medical attention immediately." "Commander, did you hear what I said? The political consequences could be severe." "I heard you, and while you discuss politics, I am looking at 800 people who will die if we do nothing. Contact the council. I will handle things here." She ended the call before could argue. The alien on screen, an elderly male, watched her with those dark eyes. "You are the leader of this station." "I am Commander Cole. What is your name?" "I am Elder. I speak for my people." He paused. "You should know that every other species has refused us. All of them. We understand if you must do the same. We are used to rejection." Felt something tighten in her chest. Used to rejection. An entire species had become used to being told they did not matter. "Elder, can your ship make it to our docking bay?" The Elder's 4 hands trembled. "You would let us dock, truly?" "Your people need food and medical care. We have both. Can your ship reach us?" Yes, we can make it." Voice broke. "Commander Cole, I do not know how to thank you. We have been turned away so many times. We expected nothing from your species." Stood up. "Earth has a history with refugees, Elder. Sometimes we have failed them. Sometimes we have helped them. Today we are going to help." She gave the order to open the docking bay. Around her, the crew of Haven Point moved quickly. They prepared food from their own supplies. They cleared sleeping areas. The station's doctor gathered every medical kit available. An hour later stood at the docking bay doors as they opened. They came through slowly, blinking in the station's lights. They were thin and weak. Many of them had to be carried. The children clung to their parents with all four arms. Elder was one of the last to board. He stopped in front of and looked at her for a long moment. "Why?" he asked simply. "Why did you open your doors when everyone else closed theirs?" Thought about the question. She thought about Earth's history, about all the times her species had faced the choice between fear and compassion. She thought about the child who had pressed their hands against the viewport. "Because someone had to," she said. Bowed his head. Then he placed all four of his hands over his heart in a gesture that needed no translation. Behind them, children were already accepting food from human crew members. A young human woman was wrapping a blanket around an elderly who could not stop shaking. Two species who had never met before were taking care of each other. Did not know what the political consequences would be. She did not know if Earth's government would support her decision. She did not know if the Galactic Concord would punish humanity for this act of kindness. But she knew that tonight, 847 people who had been cast out by the galaxy would sleep somewhere safe. That was enough for now. The galaxy cast them out, but Earth took them in part too. 3 weeks had passed since they arrived at Haven Point. The station had transformed from a quiet diplomatic outpost into a crowded refugee center. Every corridor held sleeping mats. Every common room had become a medical ward or a feeding station. The human crew worked without rest, and still there was not enough of anything. Cole stood at the viewport of her office, watching a massive ship approach the station. It was a cruiser, sleek and powerful, marked with the symbols of the Galactic Concord. They were the dominant species in the Concord. They controlled trade routes and made decisions that affected billions of lives across the galaxy. Director stood beside her. He had arrived from Earth 2 days ago to handle what the politicians called the situation. "Ambassador is on that ship," said. "They do not send ambassadors for small matters. This is serious, Commander." "I know. The Concord has already frozen 3 of our trade agreements. Medical supplies we ordered have been delayed indefinitely. Earth's colonies are reporting pressure from their neighbors." Turned to face him. "And what do you suggest, Director, that we throw sick children into space?" Looked away. "I suggest we listen to what the ambassador has to say." An hour later, they sat in Haven Point's small conference room across from Ambassador. It was massive, nearly 3 meters tall, with a hard shell covering most of his body and multiple compound eyes that seemed to look everywhere at once. His species resembled insects from Earth, but had learned not to judge anyone by appearance. "Commander Cole," said through his translator device. "Director, I will speak plainly. The Galactic Concord demands that you surrender the refugees immediately." "Surrender them to whom?" asked. "Their planet no longer exists." "That is not the Concord's concern. They were declared stateless by unanimous vote. They have no rights within Concord space. Any species that harbors them violates Concord law." Leaned forward. "Ambassador, surely there is room for negotiation. Earth is new to the Concord. Perhaps we did not fully understand the implications of our actions." His compound eyes fixed on. "Understanding is irrelevant. Compliance is required." Felt anger rising in her chest, but she kept her voice calm. "Ambassador, may I ask why they were declared stateless? Their world was destroyed by a natural disaster. They are victims." They made a sound that might have been a sigh. "Commander, you are new to the galaxy. You do not understand. They produce a pheromone that causes discomfort in most other species. Anxiety, unease. This has made them unwelcome wherever they go. You exiled them because they make you uncomfortable. We exiled them because no species wished to accept them. When their world died, we offered temporary shelter. Every species refused. What were we to do? Force millions upon populations that did not want them? Stood up. You could have helped them find a new world. You could have provided resources. Instead, you threw them away and told the rest of the galaxy to do the same." Rose to his full height, towering over her. "Earth will be expelled from the Concord if you do not comply. You will lose access to hyperspace routes. Your colonies will be isolated. Your technology exchange programs will end. Is this what you want for your species, Commander? All for creatures who make others feel slightly anxious?" put a hand on his arm. "Commander, perhaps we should discuss this privately." No, pulled her arm free. "Ambassador, I have spent 3 weeks with the. I have watched them care for their sick with tenderness. I have seen their parents sing their children to sleep. Yesterday, Elder wept because a human child gave him a drawing of flowers." She stepped closer to the massive. "These are not creatures, they are people, and Earth will not abandon them." Stared at her for a long moment. Then he turned and walked toward the door. "You have 30 standard days to reconsider. After that, Earth will face the full consequences of its choice." The door closed behind him. Sank into his chair. "Commander, do you understand what you have just done? Earth cannot survive outside the conquered. We need their technology, their trade, their protection." "I understand, Director, but some things matter more than trade agreements." That night, the news of the confrontation spread across Earth. Networks broadcast footage of the refugees. Commentators debated what humanity should do. Some voices demanded that the refugees be removed before Earth suffered further. They spoke of economics and politics and practical reality. But other voices rose too. A grandmother in Kansas recorded a video message offering to knit blankets for the children. A school in Brazil collected letters of welcome written by students who had never seen an alien. A retired doctor in Tokyo volunteered to travel to Haven Point. Within a week, supply ships from Earth began arriving at the station. They carried food donated by farmers, medicine purchased by crowdfunding campaigns, and toys for children who had never received gifts from strangers. Elder watched the ships arrive from the observation deck. Found him there late one evening, his 4 hands pressed against the glass. "I do not understand your species," he said quietly. "We have been hated for so long, feared, rejected, and now humans send us blankets and letters and medicine. Why?" Stood beside him. "Because not everyone believes that discomfort is a good enough reason to let people suffer." Turned to look at her. His dark eyes were wet. "Your people may lose everything because of us. The conquered does not make empty threats. Then we will face that together." The old was silent for a moment. Then he reached out with one of his hands and touched his shoulder. It was the first time he had touched a human. "My people have a saying," he said. "Those who share darkness become family in the light. I did not understand it until now." Below them, in the station's common areas, and humans were eating dinner together. A human child was teaching a child how to play a clapping game. Somewhere, someone was laughing. The Conquered's deadline was 23 days away. The threat was real. The consequences could be severe. But tonight, in this small station orbiting Earth, 2 species were becoming one community. And that thought was worth fighting for. The galaxy cast them out, but Earth took them in Part 3. 6 months had passed since Earth refused to surrender the Galactic Conquered had kept its promise. Humanity was now officially expelled from the Alliance, cut off from trade routes and technology exchanges. The consequences were painful. Cole walked through the corridors of Haven Point, which had grown far beyond its original design. New modules had been attached to house the population. Some refugees had moved to Earth's surface, settling in communities that welcomed them. But many remained on the station, still afraid to trust that their safety would last. She stopped at a viewport and looked down at Earth. The blue planet looked peaceful from here, but she knew the reality was harder. Medical supplies that once came easily from conquered trading partners were now scarce. Factories that depended on rare materials from other systems had slowed their production. Unemployment was rising. Some humans blamed the openly. A message alert sounded on her communicator. Director wanted to see her immediately. She found him in the conference room with Elder and a group of engineers. They were gathered around a holographic display showing agricultural data. "Commander," said, and for the first time in months he was smiling, "You need to see this." Elder stepped forward. "Commander Cole, my people wish to repay the kindness Earth has shown us. We have little to offer except our knowledge, but our knowledge is considerable." He gestured to the holographic display. We developed advanced techniques for growing food in difficult conditions. Our planet had poor soil and limited water. We learned to produce abundant crops with minimal resources." One of the engineers spoke up. "We have been working with human scientists for the past 2 months. We have adapted our methods for Earth's conditions. Initial tests show a 40% increase in food production using the same land and water." Nodded eagerly. "This could offset our trade losses significantly. If we implement these techniques globally, Earth could become self-sufficient in ways we never imagined. Looked at Elder, you did this without being asked. You took us in without conditions. We wish to show that we are not simply mouths to feed. We have value. We can contribute. Reached into his robe and pulled out a small data crystal. There is more. During our years of wandering, we discovered something. An uncharted moon in a distant system. It is rich in minerals and rare elements. We never reported it to the Conquered because we knew it would be taken from us. He placed the crystal on the table. We give it to Earth now, freely. Use it to build what you need. Picked up the crystal. It was small enough to fit in her palm, but it represented something enormous. They were not just refugees anymore. They were partners. Elder, I do not know what to say. Say nothing. Actions speak louder than words. You proved that when you opened your doors to us. 3 days later, Ambassador returned to Haven Point. This time, his ship was accompanied by 2 Conquered cruisers. His compound eyes studied with what might have been curiosity as they sat in the conference room again. Earth has surprised us, he said. We expected you to collapse without Conquered support. Instead, you adapt. You develop new technologies with your friends. You find resources we did not know existed. We are a stubborn species, replied. Indeed, the Conquered has taken notice. We wish to offer a compromise. Pushed a data tablet across the table. Relocate to an uninhabited planet on the edge of known space. We have identified a suitable world. It is small and cold but survivable. That would live. Earth would be welcomed back into the Conquered with full privileges restored. Director read the proposal carefully, watched his face. She saw him thinking about the economic benefits, the restored trade agreements, the technology exchanges. They would survive, said slowly. That is something. They would be exiled again, said. Sent to a frozen rock far from anyone who might help them. Alone. But alive, pointed out. Is that not what matters? Was quiet, could see the struggle in his face. He was a politician. His job was to protect Earth's interests. The Conquered's offer would solve so many problems. Director said quietly, come with me. She led him out of the conference room and through the station's corridors. They passed, and humans working side by side. They passed a medical bay where a healer was treating a human patient for a respiratory illness. They reached a community center that had been set up in one of the cargo bays. Inside, children were playing. Human children and children together. A young girl with hair was teaching a boy how to catch a ball. 2 girls were braiding the hair of a human girl who sat between them, giggling. Look at them, said. 6 months ago they did not know each other existed. Now they are friends. In another few years they will grow up together. They will study together. They will work together. They will be one people. Watch the children. A boy fell down while chasing the ball, and a human boy helped him up without hesitation. They are not a burden we are carrying, continued. They are part of us now. You do not send family to a frozen rock at the edge of nowhere. Was silent for a long moment. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out the data tablet with his proposal. He looked at it one last time. I have made my career by making practical decisions, he said. By calculating costs and benefits, by choosing the safe path. He handed the tablet too. Please tell the ambassador that Earth declines his generous offer. Smiled. You should tell him yourself, Director. It will mean more coming from you. They walked back to the conference room together, waited with the patience of a species that measured time in centuries. Straightened his jacket and looked the massive in his compound eyes. Ambassador, Earth thanks the Conquered for its offer. However, we must decline. They are not refugees anymore. They are our neighbors, our partners, our friends. We will not abandon them. Stared at him for a long moment. Then the ambassador stood and walked to the door. You are a strange species, he said. The Conquered does not know what to make of you. Perhaps that is a good thing, replied. The door closed behind him. Earth remained outside the Conquered. The future remained uncertain. But in the community center, human and children were still playing together. That was enough. The galaxy cast them out, but Earth took them in Part 4. 1 year had passed since the first arrived at Haven Point. The station had grown into a small city in orbit, with new sections added every month. On Earth's surface, communities thrived in dozens of countries. The partnership between the 2 species had produced remarkable results. Cole stood in a newly constructed observation dome, watching construction drones work on the latest expansion module. Beside her, Elder reviewed reports on a data pad. His four hands moved quickly across the screen. "The resource moon is producing beyond our projections," he said. "The mining operations are fully functional. Earth will have enough rare minerals for the next 50 years. And the agricultural programs. Food production has increased by 60% on every continent where our techniques have been implemented. Hunger rates are falling. Your people are healthier than they were before the Conquered abandoned you." Smiled, "The Conquered did not abandon us, Elder. We chose to leave. You chose to stay with us. The result is the same." A communication alert interrupted them. Answered and found herself looking at Director. His face was grave. "Commander, Ambassador is requesting a meeting. This time, he is not alone. The Conquered Council has issued an official ultimatum." 2 hours later and sat across from and 3 other Conquered representatives. The ambassador looked tired, if such a thing was possible for his species. "Commander Cole," Elder began, "the Conquered Council has grown concerned about Earth's influence in the galaxy. Your partnership with it has become a symbol. Other species are asking uncomfortable questions. Young members of our populations are expressing sympathy for your cause." "That sounds like a problem for the Conquered, not for Earth," said. "It is a problem for everyone. The Conquered has maintained stability in this galaxy for thousands of years. We cannot allow a single species to undermine that stability by offering sanctuary to those we have declared unworthy." One of the other representatives, a thin being covered in silver scales, spoke up. "The Council has voted. Earth has 30 days to surrender the refugees. If you refuse, the Conquered will establish a complete blockade of your system. No ship will be permitted to approach or leave. Your colonies will be seized. Your species will be trapped in your own solar system forever." Silence fell over the room, felt the weight of the threat pressing down on her. This was not a negotiation. This was an execution order for Earth's future among the stars. Broke the silence. "May I speak?" Nodded. The old stood slowly. "I have lived for 217 years. I have seen my species suffer persecution, hatred, and exile. I have watched my die and my people scatter like dust in the wind, and I have seen something I never expected to see. I have seen humans fight for us." He turned to, "Commander Cole, you have given us more than shelter. You have given us dignity. You have shown my people that we are not cursed or unlucky or worthless. You have shown us that we matter." His voice grew thick with emotion. "I cannot allow you to be punished for your kindness. My people will leave voluntarily. We will take our old ships and fly into deep space, beyond conquered territory. We would rather die in the void than watch Earth suffer because of us." Stood up sharply, "No. Commander, please, you have done enough, more than enough. Let us go." I said no, turned to face. "Ambassador, Earth will not surrender not now, not ever. You can establish your blockade. You can trap us in our system. You can cut us off from the entire galaxy. But you cannot make us abandon people who trust us." She walked to the center of the room. "I want to say something, and I want you to transmit it to the entire Conquered, every species, every world, everyone." Studied her with his compound eyes. "Why would we do that?" "Because you are proud. Because you want the galaxy to see Earth humiliated. Because you think hearing our defiance will make other species afraid to follow our example." Smiled grimly. "But I think you are wrong about that." The ambassador was silent for a long moment. Then he gestured to one of his aides. "Open a broadcast channel. Let the galaxy hear what the humans have to say." A light on the recording device turned green. Took a breath. "My name is Cole. I'm speaking to every species in the Galactic Conquered. 1 year ago, a refugee ship arrived at Earth. They had been abandoned by every civilization they encountered. They were starving, sick, and alone. The Conquered told us to turn them away. We refused." She paused. "Since then, we have been punished for our choice. We have lost trade agreements. We have been expelled from the Conquered. Now we are threatened with total isolation, and still we refuse to abandon the—" Looked directly at the recording device. "The Conquered says they are unlucky, cursed, uncomfortable to be around. But let me tell you what I have seen. I have seen parents sing their children to sleep. I have seen healers treat sick humans with skill and compassion. I have seen scientists share knowledge that has transformed our world." Her voice grew stronger. "They are not cursed. They are people, good people, and any civilization that throws away its most vulnerable members is already dying from within." She took a step closer to the camera. To every species listening to this message, I say this: kindness is not weakness. Compassion is not foolishness. Standing with those who have no one else is not a mistake. It is the only thing that makes civilization worth building. Straightened her shoulders. Earth will not abandon the. If the conquered wishes to punish us for that choice, so be it. We would rather be alone with our conscience than comfortable with our shame. She nodded to end transmission. The recording light went dark. The ambassador stared at her for a long moment. Then he turned and walked out of the room without another word. Elder had tears streaming down his face. "Commander, what have you done?" "I told the truth, Elder. Now we wait to see if anyone was listening." That night stood alone at a viewport, watching the stars. Somewhere out there, her words were spreading across the galaxy. She did not know if they would make any difference. She did not know if anyone cared. But she had said what needed to be said. Sometimes that was all you could do. The galaxy cast them out, but Earth took them in Part 5. Day 29 of the ultimatum arrived with cold silence from the Galactic Conquered. Cole stood in the command center of Haven Point, watching sensor displays that showed exactly what she expected to see. Conquered warships were gathering at the edge of the solar system, forming a line that would soon become a wall. 47 vessels confirmed, her sensor officer reported. More arriving every hour. They are establishing blockade positions. Director stood beside her, his face pale but determined. Earth's government has issued emergency protocols. Food rationing will begin tomorrow. All non-essential space travel is suspended. Elder entered the command center with several leaders. The old alien looked at the sensor display and his 4 shoulders sagged. "We should not have let it come to this," he said quietly. "My people are ready to fight alongside you, Commander. We have no warships, but we will not hide while humans face punishment for saving us." Reached out and touched his arm. "No one is fighting today, Elder. The Conquered wants to make an example of us, not start a war." "Then what do we do?" "We wait, we endure, we survive." The hours passed slowly. Refused to leave the command center. She watched the blockade ships take their positions with the patience of predators. By nightfall, the wall was complete. Earth was sealed inside its own solar system. Then the sensor officer spoke with confusion in his voice. "Commander, I am detecting a new contact. It is coming from deep space, outside the blockade zone." "Conquered reinforcements?" "No, ma'am, the signature does not match any conquered vessel." He paused, his fingers moving across his console. "It is a transport ship, old design, very old." A new signal appeared on the sensor display, then another, then 5 more. "More contacts appearing, Commander, 10, 12, 20. The officer's voice rose with each number. 50 contacts, 100, they are all coming from the same direction." Step closer to the display, identify them. "Working on it. The first ship is broadcasting an identification signal. It is a vessel." Drew in a sharp breath. They were nearly wiped out 50 years ago. Only a few thousand survived. "The broadcast is repeating a message," the officer said, "playing it now." A voice filled the command center. It was thin and trembling, speaking through a translator. "This is the refugee convoy. We heard the human broadcast. We are coming to stand with Earth." Before could respond, another signal appeared on the sensors, then another convoy, then a fleet. "Commander, I am detecting vessels. They are the aquatic species whose was poisoned. There are hundreds of them." Stepped forward. "How is this possible? They were scattered across a dozen systems." The communications console lit up with incoming messages. Voices overlapped, speaking in different languages, all saying the same thing. "We heard the humans' words. We are coming. We stand with Earth." Watch the sensor display fill with contacts. Ships of every size and shape were dropping out of hyperspace, bypassing the conquered blockade by approaching from directions no one was watching. They were refugee vessels, wandering ships, survivors of a dozen tragedies that the conquered had ignored. "They are arriving," the officer reported, his voice now filled with wonder. And something calling itself the broken choir of Prime." Elder moved to stand beside. Tears were flowing freely down his face, but he was smiling. "The forgotten ones," he whispered. "Every species the conquered abandoned, every people who were told they did not matter, they are all coming here." Within an hour, the refugee fleet outnumbered the conquered blockade 3 to 1. They had no weapons. They posed no military threat, but they were there, filling the space around Earth with ships carrying the survivors of countless tragedies. A communication request came through from Ambassador's flagship. Accepted it. The ambassador appeared on screen. For the first time since she had met him, he looked uncertain. Commander Cole, what is the meaning of this? Ambassador, I believe these are the people your conquered forgot about. It seems they remember each other. They have no right to be here. They are violating conquered space. They are seeking sanctuary, Ambassador, just like the did. His compound eyes flickered across multiple screens as his officers reported the growing refugee fleet. The conquered cannot allow this. If Earth becomes a gathering place for every unwanted species in the galaxy, it will destabilize everything we have built. Smiled. Then perhaps you should have built something that did not throw people away. The ambassador was silent. Behind him, could see his officers arguing among themselves. The blockade ships were still in position, but they were vastly outnumbered now. Starting a confrontation would mean attacking defenseless refugee vessels while the entire galaxy watched. Commander Cole said slowly, you have created a situation that has no good resolution. I disagree, Ambassador. There is an excellent resolution. The conquered withdraws its blockade. Earth continues to welcome refugees, and your great civilization learns that compassion is not a weakness to be exploited. Stared at her through the screen. Then he did something I'd never seen him do before. He laughed. It was a strange sound, clicking and rattling, but it was unmistakably laughter. You are a dangerous species, Commander. Not because of your weapons or your technology, because of your ideas. He paused. The blockade is withdrawn. Earth has made its point, but this is not over. The conquered will be watching you. The screen went dark. Across the sensor display, the conquered warships began moving away, returning to their home systems. Turned to find Elder standing behind her. The old was shaking. It is over, he asked. For now. Looked at the sensor display, still crowded with refugee ships. All those people, they came because of what you said, because you spoke for them when no one else would. Put her hand on his shoulder. I spoke for all of us, Elder, every species that has ever been told they do not matter. They walked together to the observation dome. Below them, Earth turned slowly in the darkness. Above them, ships from a dozen forgotten species hung in orbit, waiting to see what would happen next. What do we do now? Asked. Thought about it. She thought about all the work that lay ahead, finding homes for the new refugees, building relationships between species that had never met, creating something new in a galaxy that had been ruled by the same powers for thousands of years. Now we build, she said, a real community, a place where no one gets thrown away. It will not be easy. Nothing worthwhile ever is. They stood in silence for a long moment, then asked one final question. Commander, why did humans take such a risk for strangers? You nearly lost everything. Looked down at Earth. She thought about her planet's history, about the times humanity had failed to help refugees and the times they had succeeded. She thought about the best and worst of her species. Because we know what it feels like to be alone, she said, and we know that home is not just a place. It is a promise that you belong, that you matter, that someone will stand with you when the darkness comes. She turned to face him. Earth is not just a planet, Elder, it is a promise, and today we kept it. Placed all four of his hands over his heart. Then let us make sure the galaxy never forgets. Far below, on Earth's surface, and human children were playing in a garden they had planted together. The seeds they had sown were already beginning to grow.